Whispers in the cellar. The old mansion on Willow Lane had always been a subject of local legend. Its tall, shadowy spires and ivy-clad walls loomed like an ancient sentinel, a forgotten relic of a bygone era. Most folks in Millfield avoided it, whispering tales of curses and dark deeds. But for Lily Carter, it was a dream come true. At 25, Lily was a writer of gothic horror novels, her mind perpetually drenched in morose imagination. When she inherited the mansion from an obscure relative she barely knew, she saw it not as a creepy old house, but as a canvas, a place where she could spin her tales and find inspiration. It was perfect. She moved in on a chilly October morning, her excitement barely dampened by the overcast sky. The mansion had been vacant for decades. Dust clung to the heavy wooden furniture, and the air smelled of old paper and forgotten secrets. It was a maze of high-ceiling rooms, each filled with antique trappings and echoes of the past. The cellar, however, was different. It was as if the rest of the house existed to guard the cellar from prying eyes. The entrance was concealed behind a sliding panel in the dining room, which Lily discovered with a combination of curiosity and frustration. The panel groaned as she pulled it back, revealing a rickety wooden staircase descending into darkness. Lily hesitated only for a moment before grabbing a flashlight and starting down. The cellar was vast, filled with cobwebs and the musty odor of decay. Shelves lined the walls, cluttered with old jars, dusty bottles, and strange artifacts. The air was cold and damp, sending shivers down her spine. She had just begun to explore when she heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible over the creaking of the old wooden stairs. It was as if someone had breathed a word right in her ear, but when she turned around, the cellar was empty. Lily shrugged it off as her imagination running wild, a side effect of her excitement and the eerie atmosphere. Days turned into weeks as Lily settled into the mansion. Her days were spent exploring the mansion and its grounds, while her nights were dedicated to writing. The whispers, however, did not cease. They grew more frequent and persistent, often unsettling her as she worked. Sometimes they were barely perceptible, just a rustle of voices she couldn't quite make out. Other times they were louder, a chorus of murmured sentences that left her feeling as though unseen eyes were watching her every move. One evening while preparing dinner, Lily heard the whispering again, clearer this time. It was a single word, repeated over and over. "Come!" The voice was cold and unwelcoming, and it seemed to echo from the depths of the cellar. With a mix of trepidation and determination, Lily decided to investigate further. Armed with a lantern and a sense of grim resolve, she descended into the cellar once more. The darkness seemed thicker tonight, the shadows more oppressive. As she reached the bottom, she noticed something different, a small door at the far end of the cellar, partially obscured by crates and old furniture. It had never been there before, or at least she hadn't seen it. The door was old, its wood rotting and covered in grime. Lily hesitated but then pushed it open. It creaked loudly, revealing a narrow passageway. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. She followed the corridor, her heart pounding with every step. At the end of the passage was another door, this one made of iron and locked with a rusty chain. The whispers were now a cacophony of voices, rising in a crescendo of urgency and despair. Lily's hand trembled as she fumbled with the chain, finally managing to pry it loose. She pushed the door open, revealing a small, dimly lit room. The room was filled with old, dusty artifacts, ancient books, faded portraits, and strange symbols scrawled on the walls. In the center was a large, weathered book on a pedestal. The whispers seemed to converge around it, an almost tangible force pressing against her. With a mix of dread and curiosity, Lily approached the book. The cover was adorned with cryptic symbols and a title she couldn't quite read. As she opened it, the whispers reached a fever pitch, and a cold breeze swept through the room. The pages were filled with indecipherable text and crude illustrations of twisted, monstrous figures. As she flipped through the pages, she felt a strange compulsion, as if the book was drawing her into its dark embrace. The whispers grew louder, and the room seemed to close in around her. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind extinguished her lantern, plunging her into darkness. The whispers stopped abruptly, leaving only the sound of her ragged breathing. Lily stumbled through the darkness, her mind racing with terror and confusion. She found her way back to the cellar's entrance and fled upstairs, her heart pounding in her chest. She locked the cellar door behind her and tried to calm herself, but the sense of dread remained. The whispers had stopped, but their presence lingered like a sinister shadow. That night, Lily struggled to sleep, plagued by nightmares of shadowy figures and cryptic symbols. She awoke in the morning feeling more exhausted than ever, her mind fraught with fear and anxiety. Determined to confront whatever was haunting her, she decided to research the mansion's history. Her research led her to the town's archives, where she uncovered a dark chapter of the mansion's past. It had once belonged to a reclusive scholar named Elias Thorn, who was rumored to dabble in forbidden knowledge and occult practices. The mansion's cellar was said to be the site of his experiments, and many believed he had made a pact with malevolent forces. Lily returned to the mansion, her resolve hardened by the knowledge she had uncovered. That night, she gathered her courage and descended once more into the cellar, armed with a journal and a few protective charms she had found in the archives. She approached the iron door with a mixture of trepidation and determination. The whispers began again, more urgent than ever. Lily took a deep breath and opened the door. The room was as she had left it, the book on the pedestal waiting for her. With trembling hands, Lily took the book and began to study its contents. She read the incantations and symbols, deciphering their meanings as best as she could. The whispers grew louder, almost as if they were trying to drown out her efforts. She could feel a presence closing in on her, an oppressive force that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. As she continued to read, a shadowy figure materialized in the room, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. It was the embodiment of the whispers, a dark entity bound to the mansion by Elias Thorn's dark rituals. Lily's heart raced as she confronted the apparition. "Why are you here?" she demanded, her voice trembling but defiant. The figure's voice was a distorted echo, the whispers blending into a single guttural sound. "You should not have come. The knowledge is forbidden. Leave this place or suffer the consequences." Lily stood her ground, clutching the book tightly. "I won't leave until I understand what happened here. I need to know the truth." The entity let out a chilling laugh, a sound that sent ice through her veins. "The truth is a curse. Elias Thorn's pact has bound us to this place, and now you are part of it." The shadows closed in around her, the room growing colder and darker. Lily recited the incantations from the book, her voice steady despite the terror she felt. The shadows recoiled, and the oppressive force seemed to weaken. The whispers grew fainter, becoming mere echoes of the dark past. The entity's form began to waver, its eyes flickering with anger and fear. "You cannot banish us. We are eternal." With a final, desperate effort, Lily completed the incantation, and a blinding light erupted from the book. The shadows screamed and writhed as the light pushed them back. The entity's form dissipated, leaving only an echoing silence in its wake. When Lily awoke the next morning, the mansion seemed lighter. The oppressive weight of the whispers lifted. The cellar was still there, but the darkness and malevolence that had pervaded it were gone. The whispers had ceased, leaving behind a sense of eerie calm. Lily continued her research, uncovering more about Elias Thorn and his dark practices. She discovered that the entity she had encountered was a manifestation of Thorn's failed pact, a lingering curse that had tormented the mansion for decades. With the incantations she had deciphered, she had managed to weaken the entity's hold and free the mansion from its dark influence. Life slowly returned to normal for Lily. The mansion became a place of peace and inspiration once more. She continued to write, her experiences enriching her stories with a new depth of authenticity. The whispers in the cellar had become a tale of the past, a haunting reminder of the mansion's dark history and her own courage in facing it. As she sat in her study, penning her latest novel, Lily glanced at the cellar door with a sense of accomplishment. The house on Willow Lane had revealed its secrets, and she had confronted the darkness that lurked within. The whispers were gone, but their memory would live on in her writing, a testament to the battles fought and won in the shadowy corners of her new home.